Have you ever been in a relationship where you cared so much about making it work that little by little you stopped listening to yourself? Maybe you started overthinking everything, needing constant reassurance, staying quiet to avoid conflict, or accepting less than you truly wanted just to keep the connection. That's what low self-worth can do inside a relationship. It can leave you confused, questioning your value, and constantly looking to someone else to feel secure, chosen, or enough. And this doesn't apply only to romantic relationships. It can happen in family relationships, friendships, and even professional relationships. Most of the time, it happens so gradually that you don't even realize you're losing yourself until you already feel exhausted, anxious, and disconnected from who you are. If this sounds familiar, don't worry, you're not alone. Most people either forget or were never taught that self-worth has to start within. It cannot be built only from the outside, because if you can't see your own value first, how are you supposed to truly believe someone when they tell you that you matter? It's like being asked to recognize the face of someone you've never even met. So in this video, you're going to learn what self-worth actually looks like in a relationship, the signs you may be tying your value to love, why so many people lose themselves in dating and long-term relationships, and most importantly, how to improve self-worth, build self-respect, set healthier boundaries, and stop abandoning yourself just to keep someone close. Self-worth in a relationship does not mean you always feel confident. It doesn't mean you never need reassurance. And it definitely doesn't mean you have it all together every second of the day. It simply means that even if someone becomes distant, even if they disagree with you, and even if they leave, you still believe you matter. You still believe you're worthy. You still know who you are, not based on someone else's opinion, but from a deep inner sense of your own value. Your worth does not disappear just because someone else changes how they show up. And when you truly believe that, something else begins to change too. The way you allow yourself to be treated. You stop handing other people the power to define you, and that is where self-respect begins to take root. That's what real self-respect looks like. It's not perfection. It's not being the cool partner who never gets hurt. It's knowing that someone else's inconsistency does not get to decide your worth. A lot of self-worth issues begin right there. Not in the rejection, not in the breakup, but in the moment you start believing that being chosen is what makes you valuable. So if you want to know how to improve self-worth, this is where it starts. Your worth has to be bigger than someone's attention, mood, mixed signals, or ability to text back. For example, in romantic relationships, once your worth gets tied to love, things start to feel a whole lot heavier than they need to. You can usually tell when your worth is tied to love because small things start feeling huge. A delayed reply feels like rejection. A short text feels like danger. One weird tone shift and suddenly your mind is acting like it's preparing for the end of the world. You overthink, you replay conversations, you look for hidden meanings in tiny things. You need reassurance, but even when you get it, it only helps for a little while. Then the fear comes back. Maybe you start feeling like you're only okay when you feel chosen. When they're warm, you feel calm, but when they pull back, or when you interpret their behavior as pulling back, you start to feel shaky. That's exhausting. And it's one of the clearest signs of self-worth issues in a relationship. Another sign is overgiving. You're always the one being understanding, flexible, and available. You make excuses for them, put your own needs aside, and keep telling yourself that if you just do a little more or love a little harder, things will be okay and you'll finally feel secure. That's often how anxious attachment works. It convinces you that if you can just do everything right, you'll finally feel safe. But instead of feeling close, you end up feeling drained, confused, and not quite like yourself. And once you notice that pattern, the next question becomes, why do so many people lose themselves in love in the first place? The truth is, most people do not lose themselves overnight. It happens slowly, quietly. A little compromise here, a little silence there, a little pretending not to care when you actually care a lot. A lot of this starts long before your current relationship. It can come from childhood, old rejection, attachment wounds, or growing up feeling like love had to be earned. Maybe you learned that being easy to love meant being low maintenance, helpful, agreeable, or emotionally convenient. So now, without even realizing it, you may carry that into adult relationships. You become the one who understands everything, forgives everything, explains everything away. You become so focused on being loved that you stop asking whether you feel loved in return. It can look generous. But underneath it, there's often fear. Fear of being too much. Fear of being left. Fear that if you stop performing, the love will disappear. And that's why learning how to improve self-worth is deeper than just saying nice things to yourself in the mirror. It means understanding the old story that taught you love has to be earned. Once that story is running in the background, it starts showing up everywhere, especially in dating and long-term relationships. Low self-worth doesn't always look obvious. Sometimes it looks like staying calm while someone keeps crossing lines. Sometimes it looks like calling yourself understanding when you're actually tolerating things that hurt you. In dating, it can look like chasing emotionally unavailable people. Not because you enjoy pain, obviously, but because their inconsistency feels weirdly familiar. The hot and cold dynamic keeps you hooked, even when it's making you miserable. In a long-term relationship, it can show up differently. Maybe you stop speaking honestly because you don't want conflict. Maybe you make yourself smaller to keep the peace. Maybe you stop bringing up what you need because you're scared of seeming needy, dramatic, or hard to love. It can also look like overperforming. You try to be fun enough, helpful enough, attractive enough, chill enough. You're basically auditioning for a role you already should not have to earn. And that's the painful part. Self-worth issues don't just affect how you feel. They affect what you accept, what you ignore, and how long you stay in situations that slowly wear you down. Which brings us to one of the most important distinctions in this whole conversation: the difference between healthy compromise and self-abandonment. Healthy compromise says, let's work this out in a way that respects both of us. Self-abandonment says, fine, I'll just swallow how I feel again. That's a huge difference. One helps a relationship grow. The other slowly teaches you that your needs are inconvenient. Here's a simple example. Healthy compromise is saying, you want to stay in tonight, I wanted to go out, so let's order food and do something fun at home. That's flexible. That's normal. That's part of sharing a life. Self-abandonment is very different. It's saying yes when you mean no. It's laughing something off when it actually hurt. It's dropping your plans, your boundaries, your standards, or your voice just to avoid tension or keep someone close. A good question to ask yourself is this: after I agreed to that, did I feel connected, or did I feel like I disappeared a little? Your body usually knows the answer faster than your mind does. And once you start noticing that, you begin to understand why boundaries matter so much. A lot of people hear the word boundaries and think it means being cold, dramatic, or hard to deal with. It doesn't. Boundaries are not punishment. They're not a wall. They're not you being mean. Boundaries are just a way of saying, my needs matter too. That's it. They're a form of self-respect inside a relationship. A boundary might sound like, I'm happy to talk about this, but not if we're yelling. Or, I need consistency. I can't do mixed signals. Or even, I'm not available for this kind of treatment anymore. That doesn't make you difficult. It makes you clear. And people who struggle with self-worth issues often have a hard time being clear because they're so used to explaining, softening, and second-guessing themselves. If you have anxious attachment, boundaries can feel scary. You may worry they'll push the other person away. But the truth is, boundaries don't ruin healthy love. They reveal whether the relationship can hold honesty. And that matters, because no matter how loving someone is, they still cannot become the source of your worth. A good partner can support you. They can reassure you. They can remind you that you're loved on the days when your mind is being especially loud and unhelpful. But if your value depends completely on their reassurance, you're always going to feel a little unstable, because no person, no matter how loving, can constantly manage your inner world for you. That's why low self-worth doesn't magically disappear just because you finally meet someone kind. Sometimes it actually gets triggered more, because now there's more to lose. Now the fear gets louder. You may hear, "I love you," again and again, and still feel anxious the minute their energy changes. Not because you're broken, but because external reassurance can only go so far. Support helps. Love helps. A healthy relationship helps. But none of those things can replace self-trust. None of them can build self-respect for you. And that's where the real rebuilding starts. Rebuilding self-worth inside a relationship starts with noticing the moments you abandon yourself in real time. Not later. Not 3 days later while replaying the conversation in the shower. Right there, in the moment. Notice when you say, "I'm fine," but you're not fine. Notice when you over-explain a boundary because you're afraid of being misunderstood. Notice when you cancel plans, swallow feelings, or make yourself smaller just to keep the peace. If you want to know how to improve self-worth, start getting honest about those moments. Not to judge yourself, but to wake yourself up. Then practice saying what you actually need, clearly and simply, not perfectly, not like a therapist, just honestly. "That bothered me. I need more consistency. I'm not okay with that. I need time to think." Also, keep your own life. This matters more than people realize. Keep your friends, keep your routines, keep your goals, keep doing things that remind you who you are outside the relationship. That might look like going back to the gym, taking your Sunday walks, joining that class you kept putting off, reading before bed instead of waiting around for a text, or making plans without feeling guilty for having your own life. And stop over-explaining your boundaries. You do not need a 10-slide presentation to justify why something matters to you. A respectful person does not need a courtroom argument to hear your truth. Most of all, choose relationships that feel mutual, not one-sided, not confusing, not like you're doing all the emotional lifting while the other person just shows up whenever they feel like it. Because once you know your worth, self-respect becomes the standard and everything starts to change. You stop chasing. You stop overperforming. You stop begging for crumbs in relationships. You start realizing that you are worthy, and that means you get to choose whether you stay in relationships where you are truly valued or not, no matter what kind of relationship it is. So here's where I want to leave you. The next time you feel the urge to chase, overgive, stay silent, or abandon your truth just to keep a relationship together, pause for a second and ask yourself, what does this moment reveal about how I see myself, and am I acting from self-worth or from fear of losing this relationship? That question can change your life if you let it, because your healing begins the moment self-worth becomes more important than the fear of being left. And yes, that takes practice. Yes, it can feel uncomfortable, but it is one of the most powerful things you will ever do for yourself. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is one way you've been losing yourself in a relationship without even realizing it? If this video helped you, share it with someone who may need to hear this message right now. And if you enjoy this kind of content and want to keep learning tools that can help you grow, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.